Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Ron LeGrand for another issue of the Mentor Podcast, dedicated to helping you make more money, make it faster, and keep more of it, and retire rich. Today, I've got a very special guest on the line. His name is Ron LeGrand. Yep, that would be me. I'm going to take this episode and use it to show you how so many of my people are making money all over the country and have been for quite a few years now. The fastest and the easiest ways to make money. And due to so many requests from you, I've decided to try to do my best to lay that out for you the best I can in the time we've got together today. In other words, I'm going to try to condense a multiple day seminar into 30 or 40 minutes here for you. So if you happen to not be on Planet Ron, you don't really know what we do, and you're trying to figure out what this real estate thing is all about, and what's all the hubbub, and how do I actually make money in it, because I don't have any experience, and don't have credit, don't have money, and all of the other reasons why many people don't enter it. So I'm going to do what I can to answer those questions for you, and I'll give you an opportunity at the end to attend one of my one-day workshops where I'll be there live if you wish, and I'll give you a link to get all of the dates and also some other cool things that I'm going to give you as well. So let's get started, and let's talk about where the big money is in real estate today. And first of all, what do we do? What is our business, and why real estate? Well, first of all, real estate is a business that anybody can enter, and we have people coming in from all walks of life, all professions, all age groups, all income levels, and all experience levels. And they're all looking for one of several different things. Frankly, most are just looking for more cash and more cash flow. Some are looking for a retirement. Some are already retired and looking for something to do after they're retired. Some just want to build wealth. And some actually are looking for a career change, and others are just looking for something to add to their income streams. So real estate will do all of that. And it has been doing it for me for 36 years now. I've been at this. I'm actually in my 37th year. Have bought and sold well over 3,000 houses, and I don't even know how many today. Quick count 10 years ago. Still buy a couple, 3 a month, every single month, without literally taking almost none of my own time, and certainly without using my money or credit. So I'll tell you where most of my money is made today, and then you can, if you like what you hear, of course, then there's plenty of information available for you to continue that ongoing education. This is a part-time business. It's not a full-time business. Now, it could easily become a full-time business if one takes all their time and uses it incorrectly. But today, we are so automated in this business. Here at Global Publishing, we do most of the work for our clients. So there's really not much left for you to do except make decisions, and that's all I do. I decide who I want to buy from and who I want to sell to, and pretty much everything else is done for me. There's two sides to our business. There's the ugly house business, and then there's the pretty house business. Now, most people think this is all about the ugly house business. It's all about rehabbing houses, buying them, fixing them, and reselling them, and or quickly wholesaling them, flipping them, and getting a check. Those are certainly part of our business, but by no means are they all of our business. In fact, they're the part of the business that I devote little or no time to, because I like the other side called the pretty house business. The pretty house business is beautiful homes and beautiful neighborhoods. They don't need any rehab, and we're eliminating most of the costly entanglements that come along with rehabbing. And plus, we can get in and we can get out a lot faster, and our paychecks quite often are as big as doing a rehab job without all of the raising capital and the time that goes by before you can actually get paid. And I'll try to explain that right here on this podcast. The ugly house business is wholesaling and retailing. Again, I don't have anything against that, but today, 95% of my business is actually in the pretty house side. And the fastest way to get a check is the pretty house side of the business. And that check is going to come from a down payment or a non-refundable option deposit on a beautiful home in a beautiful neighborhood. So the pretty house business is all about terms. It's just a big old 5-letter word, terms. No terms, no deal. If you're taking notes, write that one down. No terms, no deal. Now, automatically, since we are dealing with terms, we're dealing with the minority, not the majority. So I'll be the first to tell you that most sellers who come into your system are worthless. They're not going to want terms. They want all cash and they want retail price. Imagine that, the nerve of these folks. And we're not dealing with those folks. We're dealing with the minority of folks who will gladly take a monthly payment until we can pay them off in full. In a minute, I'll get to how we find out who those folks are. Most of it is done before the information ever even gets to you. So just remember, no terms, no deal. So what are terms exactly? There's only three kinds. First, you can lease it from the seller with an option to buy it, which means you make them a monthly rent payment until sometime in the future you pay it off. And you pay it off when your tenant buyer that you put in the house pays you off. So you lease option it from the seller, and then you sublease it to the tenant buyer, and at some time they go get a loan, or they don't, and they move, and then you get to do it again and collect another non-refundable option deposit. The second terms is owner financing. Owner financing means the seller becomes the bank. They're willing to take a monthly payment and wait till you pay them off sometime in the future. Your attorney will do all of the paperwork. There's nothing for you to worry about when it comes to that. There's just a document that is prepared that says that your entity owes the seller X amount of dollars for X amount of time. And usually if the seller has an underlying loan, their debt gets paid out of what you pay the seller. But you actually buy the house with owner financing. You're not leasing it. You actually own it. And by owning it, you get the benefit of depreciation to help you reduce your taxes, as well as absolute total control. So you own the house, but your entity owes the seller until the seller is paid off. In other words, the seller becomes the bank. This is how I buy most of my houses today, other than all cash. Most of my houses are bought with owner financing, whether they're free and clear or whether they have a debt. And the third way is what we call take title subject to the underlying loan. That simply means that the seller just deeds you the house and walks away. You take over their debt, but you do not assume their debt. You see, in my world, on Planet Ron, there are three ways to lose. First, you can write a big check. If you write a big check, you can lose the big check. Well, we don't write big checks. Secondly, we don't guarantee debt. If you guarantee debt, you risk your credit, you risk your assets, and you risk your marriage. For what? To buy a house. I'll show you how you can buy all the houses you want without applying for anybody, any loan, nobody pulling your credit report. Don't go down to any bank. No one can tell you whether you qualify or not. We don't use our credit to buy houses on Planet Ron. It is strictly prohibited. Therefore, I really don't care what your credit score is. In fact, I hope it's very, very low so you won't even be tempted to use it. No credit allowed. And taking subject to simply means you're buying the property from the seller. The seller goes in front of your attorney, signs the deed, signs the closing statement, and leaves. And then you start making payments on their debt whenever you and them agree to start making those payments. You're not guaranteeing the debt. The debt does not show in your credit report. You have no personal liability for this debt or any debt on Planet Ron. So those are the three kinds of terms. The seller must be willing to accept one of those types of terms, or we can't work with them. So now it comes down to pre-screening out quickly the ones we can work with and getting rid of the ones we can't. There's only two kinds of terms when you're selling a house. You're either going to sell it on a lease purchase or you're going to sell it with owner financing. However, once in a while we might sell one for cash, but in the world of terms, our whole objective is to buy them with terms so that we can then sell them with terms. In my case, 99.5% of the houses that I sell are sold on a lease purchase, which means the seller rents the house from me with an option to buy it. I usually give them 2 years, up to 2 years to buy it. They give me a non-refundable option deposit measured in thousands, not in hundreds, in thousands, that applies toward their down payment when they buy. So when they get ready to qualify for a loan, that money will apply toward their down payment, and they will be credited that money at closing. That money is, again, in thousands. So if I'm selling a $250,000 house, I would not accept less than a $20,000 non-refundable option deposit from my tenant buyer. That's how you get paid first, and that's called getting money from on non-refundable deposits, which is your big income stream. So when I'm buying, I need no banks. There are no delays. As soon as the seller signs a contract, I can close as quickly as they and I agree. I need no credit. I need little or no money because, frankly, at least a third of the deals that I buy are nothing down. And I'm going to show you the script here in a minute where you simply read the script and you let the seller tell you they'll take nothing down. And when there is money down, it's a very small amount of money, or I probably simply won't buy the property. So I'm looking for the sellers who will take a monthly payment, take little or nothing down, and give me time to pay them off, and that have a low enough monthly payment so that I can put a tenant buyer in the house and actually get a monthly spread from the difference between what I collect in rent and what I pay the seller. There are no realtors involved. We're dealing strictly with for sale by owners. We're not dealing with any listed properties. There are no realtors on either side of the equation. There are no contractors involved because there's nothing to rehab. We're doing beautiful homes in beautiful neighborhoods. So there are no long, costly entanglements. We're not dealing with people in foreclosure. We're not dealing with people that are desperate, that are behind on their payments, ready to walk out in front of a truck. We're dealing with homeowners all across America with beautiful homes and beautiful neighborhoods who simply need a way to sell other than cashing out. So when I'm selling, I'm looking for lease option tenant buyers. And here's the good news. They make up about 70% of the people looking to buy a house, because 70% of the folks looking to buy a house in today's world cannot qualify for a loan for some reason. Either their credit is not up to par, they have a debt ratio issue, or they can't prove enough income, or maybe they simply don't have enough down payment, whatever the case, depending on the size of the house. Because I deal in houses in all price ranges. In fact, I like them with $500 to $1 million houses. So when I'm buying $1 million house from a seller and getting terms on it with little or nothing down, and I put that house back on the market, I won't take less than $100,000 down from my tenant buyer. But that same tenant buyer will need $200,000 down if they go to the bank and get a loan. When you buy houses in that price range, you need a 20% down payment. Well, maybe my tenant buyer don't have 200 today, but maybe they got 100. Okay, well, I can put them in the house and give them time to collect the other 100 so they have the down payment before they go qualify for a loan. I'm providing a huge public service to the buyers by letting them be in a home that they pretend like is theirs until it becomes theirs, giving them plenty of time to fix whatever might be broke. So when I'm selling, my buyers do not need credit, at least not now. And if they need it, I'll help them get it cleaned up. And we need no banks today. I am the bank. I am the loan committee. I'm the one that decides which tenant buyer I will take, and that's largely based on how much money they want to put down toward their house. There are no delays. When I find the buyer that I like, and that's quickly through our automated system we have, within 2 to 3 days, they're sitting in front of my attorney getting the keys to my house, and I'm getting the rest of their big deposit. And just no costly entanglements. There's no housing inspections. There's no appraisals. There's no loan committees. There's none of that stuff that goes along with cashing out of houses to qualified buyers. But the real money is in the monthly spread. The real money is in the residual income. These down payments are great, and I love them because they pay the bills and then some. In fact, I can promise you that anybody starting in this business doing it the way we teach, using the systems, will quickly outdistance any job or business income that they've got just strictly from these down payments. But on a lot of these properties, we get a pretty good sized monthly spread as well. Plus, remember, when I take title to the property, I own it. I get to depreciate it. I get to lower my taxes just because I owned it. I get depreciation whether I put up money or buy it, whether the loan is in my name or not, and they never will be, regardless. As long as I get title to the property, I can depreciate it from that moment on. That's huge when it comes to saving taxes. But my goal is to help folks get that residual income coming in. That's that monthly income that keeps on coming whether you get out of bed in the morning or not. That's the kind you want to build. That's the kind that'll help you feel like you're financially independent. We get that residual income a month coming in to outdistance what you're currently making. Now you are free to do away with your current job or your current business whenever you choose, because now your income needs are taken care of. And from there, we just build and build and build to enormous cash flow. Some of my folks are making more money than they ever dreamed they could possibly make. In fact, you would be surprised at the number of seven-figure annual earners that live on Planet Ron. They all came from the same place. They all had the same skepticism. They all had the same questions and concerns till they come to Papa, and gradually we make them understand what this business is really about, not what it appears to be about from the outside looking in. So we got money now from the non-refundable deposits, money monthly from the spreads between what we collect for rent and what we pay the seller or the seller's bank. And my friends, sometimes that can exceed $1,000 a month per house. So it don't take too many of those. I don't really want to do one with less than a $300 a month spread. But frankly, the higher price houses we deal in without risk, then the larger those spreads become. And those spreads are easy to get today because of the low interest rates that we get when we take over somebody's debt or do owner financing. And that creates an immediate monthly income that literally could go on for years. We do the job once, and we keep getting paid for a long time to come. We call these our golden geese. They just keep laying golden eggs. And then when we get these houses, not only do we get money now, but we get money monthly, but we also get money when they cash us out. So when the tenant buyer decides it's time for them to buy, they go apply for a loan, and then you get a call saying, we're going to close and we're going to cash you out. Well, whatever equity is left in the house at that time, that's when you get a check. So we got little or no money invested in buying it. We got no credit at risk, and we just keep on collecting money. And the longer you own the property, the more money it will make you. Now, all this starts with a piece of paper called a property information sheet. It's just one sheet of paper. In fact, I'll tell you how to get them when I'm through here. That property information sheet is the sheet that collects the data on the sellers who have a house for sale. Now, I have a whole list of ways to get sellers with houses for sale. And today, our virtual assistants will even do it for you. You don't even have to do it yourself. We have a whole floor of people that will call sellers for you day in and day out. We call over 25,000 of them a month and fill out this form and send it to you. So then you can make a simple call to the seller and read a simple script I'll get to here in just a minute. So this property information sheet is the data collection form that starts the machine rolling. My virtual assistants will get them for you, and they even ask the seller whether they would consider taking a monthly payment or not. So we get either a yes or a no on these property information sheets. Now, the good news is about 31% of the people they get on the telephone say yes, they would consider or at least want to talk about terms. The even better news is even the ones who say no, I have a script to call them, and we can convert 20 to 25% of them into yeses. So my friends, it don't take but a handful of property information sheets along with the proper script and a little training, and you'll have more deals than you can handle very quickly from people who will take terms. And you might be asking yourself, why would anybody take terms in such a hot market? Well, there's all kinds of reasons, but I'll tell you, it's because they don't need the money now. They want to sell the house, and they are willing to take a monthly payment until they get cashed out. It's really just a delayed cash sale is all it is. And there's a whole bunch of people out there that are just fine with that. In fact, about a third of the houses that we buy are free and clear. And a lot of those folks don't need the money. And then we buy some. Here's a good example of one that I like to buy that I'll give you right now. And it'll be pretty easy for you to see why they're selling. And the answer is debt relief. So if you got something to write with, you want to get it out right now, because I'm going to give you an example. And I would hate to try to get you to think about this in your head without writing down these numbers. So if you got something to write with, write these numbers down. This is a house that I bought recently. Now the ARV, which stands for after repaired value, which means that's the value of the property in excellent condition, is $225,000. I live here in Jacksonville, Florida, and that's a pretty decent house here. It's a lower end house, but it's a pretty decent house. ARV stands for after repaired value, and in this case, it's $225,000. I'll write that down. Now, right below that, put loan. The seller owed $182,000 and some odd cents on the house. There was 24 years left on the mortgage. Now, their payment was $1,282 a month, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, PITI, as we call it. They told us when my virtual assistant was filling out the property information sheet, they told us right on the sheet that they'd sell the house for what's owed on it. So in other words, they really didn't care about their equity. They knew that equity was worth nothing until they actually got it. What they really wanted was debt relief. Turns out this individual had financial issues, and he knew he was going to have problems keeping the payment up, and he decided that getting debt relief was way more important to him than getting the rest of that equity. And frankly, if he had had a realtor sell the house, he wouldn't. A lot of it would have went to real estate commissions anyway. He needed to get out, and he needed to get out fast. Honestly, why really is irrelevant. Remember, he's the one that told us that he would sell the house for what he owes, and that's what attracted me to this deal to begin with. So I bought the house. I went to see the feller. I got a simple contract filled out, and a few days later, he went to my attorney, and he deeded the property to me, and I agreed to take over his debt. Now, truthfully, his credit was already shot anyway. He knew the loan was going to stay in his name, and he just didn't care. He just wanted to get out. So I paid all of his closing costs, and now I own his house. So he sold me the house. I paid all the cost. He got debt relief, but the loan stays in his name until I pay it off sometime in the future, which could take years. He is fully aware of that and signed off on it in front of the attorney. I took his house, what we call subject to the underlying loan. I purchased the property subject to the underlying debt. I did not assume his debt, but nowhere on my credit report will that $182,000 loan be. But I did agree to make his payments starting in 3 months after I purchased the property. And I always get 3 months before my first payment is due. I'll teach you how when I see you. Now, what did I do with this house? By the way, it was in excellent shape. It needed no work. It needed nothing. So this is not one of them rehabs. Seller was glad to give away the equity in exchange for the quick sale and the debt relief. So it took me 12 days to put the house on the market and find a tenant buyer for the house. In other words, I leased the house with an option to buy. My tenant buyer has 2 years to buy it, and they are responsible for all of the repairs. You see, it's a condition of my options that the tenant buyer pays for the repairs, and they sign off on it in front of an attorney. Now, I leased this property to them with an option to buy for $229,000. Means I raised the price a little, which I do every time I'm offering terms. When you can offer terms, you can raise the price. This tenant buyer gave me $20,000 non-refundable option deposit. So I sold it to them for $229,000. I guess I didn't sell it. I leased it to them, but they have the right to buy it for $229,000. They've given me $20,000, so they owe me $209,000 when and if they decide to go get a loan and pay off that debt. By the way, at that time they pay me, then of course the $182,000 underneath will also be paid. So they owe me $209,000. Right now I owe out $182,000. So I've got what, $27,000 worth of equity in this property, give or take, and plus the $20,000 that I got up front. Now they're paying me $1,700 a month, and I'm paying out $1,282 a month for 2 years, or until they decide to move or buy. So whatever that difference is my monthly cash flow. I think it's about $420 a month. So I bought the house with nothing down. I gave the seller exactly what they asked for. I paid their closing cost. I took over the debt. I immediately lease optioned it out to a tenant buyer. There was no repairs needed. It took 12 days to get $20,000 from a tenant buyer who had credit issues and was glad to give me the $20,000 to be able to get into a house of their own and satisfy the American dream of home ownership. Now, they have 2 years to go buy the house. And incidentally, when they give you the $20,000, it is your money. You get to keep it. Some people are under the impression that I got to put it in some escrow account or something, bring it to the closing table. That's not true. It is your money. Remember, you'll never give it back to the buyer because it'll either be a credit toward their purchase price or they will move and forfeit the $20,000. Either way, your money. You do not have to bring it to closing. You do not have to put it in any escrow account like realtors have to do. It's not their money. In this case, it's your money. You keep it. By the way, there's also no income tax on that $20,000 until that buyer buys or defaults on that note. So in that year, the tax will be due on the $20,000. I love these golden geese. I mean, money now, money monthly, and money later. On a house that I got with no money except for closing costs, I used no credit, I had no risk. I guess I did agree to make the payment starting in 3 months, but that's not a risk. It took me 12 months to cover that payment plus $420 a month. And no repairs, no banks, no realtors, no short sales. And remember, the tenant buyer is doing all of the repairs. It's a condition of their option agreement. So, I got to ask you, how many of those $20,000 checks do you need per month to surpass your current income? Now, here's another one I did. I'm going to go over this quickly because I'm really getting short on time here. Now, this one is a little different because it needed work. Here's a house that I got that needed $25,000 worth of rehab, my best guess if I were to have to rehab it. Now, they were living in the house. Actually, it was an inherited house. The kids called me because the dad died, and they lived out of town, and this house had a $1,382 payment on it, and they didn't want to make it. And so they called me and asked me if I would buy it for what they owed on it. Now, I should write these numbers down now because I know I'm going pretty fast. If you don't write them down, you won't keep up. Now, the house, here's another house. It was worth $225 also if it were repaired, but it wasn't repaired. Again, it needed $25,000 worth of work, which looks like about 50 to the average eye. And this house needed quite a bit of work. However, they owed $154 on it. So I bought it for $154,000, knowing it needed a lot of work, but it'd be worth $225 after I bought it. But I bought it by just taking over the loan. So all I had to do was pay closing costs. Well, in this case, though, they were 2 payments behind. So they had a payment of $1,382, and there's 2 of them behind. So there's about $2,800 worth of payments that I had to bring current, and I paid the closing cost. But now I own the house with a $154,000 debt on it. So I did have a little money in this one, which you could put on your Visa card if you needed to, if you didn't have the money. Trust me, when you get deals like this, the money's easy to find. Or you could have put it under contract and then put it out on the market. Now, I went ahead and closed on it, but I've done many of them in the past where I didn't close on the purchase until I found the buyer. So get this, here's what happened. Now, the house was worth $225 repaired, but I leased it out on what I call a work for equity program. That means I'll sell the house to you for cheaper than the market value, but in exchange, you do whatever the work is needed with your money and your labor, thus the term work for equity. I gave them a 2-year term, and they were thrilled to get in the house. And in fact, they had a link to a contract that was going to help them get the work done anyway. And by the way, the work that would cost me $25,000 worth of work to do, they probably won't spend more than $4,000 or $5,000 on it total, because they won't fix it up like I would, and they only got to do is buy materials. So they're looking at it through different eyes than I am. Now, here's the deal. They gave me $30,000 non-refundable option deposit. $30,000 down on a house I got for free. So I sold it to them for $199, so they got a good deal. They gave me $30,000, which comes off the $199 when they buy, so they only owe me $169. And I owe $154. They're making me a $1,500 a month payment. I'm paying out $1,382. So I'm not killing it on that monthly cash flow. But get this, it only took me, well, in this case, it took me 18 days to find this tenant buyer because this house was kind of ugly. So I put a work for equity out there. In other words, when a house comes to me with terms, whether it's pretty or ugly, that doesn't mean I'm going to renovate it. So I just put tenant buyers in there as is and do a work for equity program, and they get a discount, and I don't have to touch the house. I've learned a long time ago I make a whole lot more money if I do not renovate the house than if I do. So I made $30,000 in 18 days, minus my closing costs and my back 2 payments. So I netted about 26, and I'll never touch this house. Buyer's doing all the work, plus I'm getting $118 a month till they pay me off. Now, if they don't pay me off, tenant buyer moves, I'll put it right back out on the market and get another deposit until sooner or later somebody actually buys it. Again, all my profits on both of these houses I just discussed are long-term capital gains because all I have to do is own them for a year, and the maximum tax is 20%, not the maximum tax I'd have to pay, which I'm in a 37% tax bracket, and I'm proud to be there, I might add. So I'd rather pay 20% than 37%. I don't know about you. So I'll hold on to both of these houses for a year. In fact, I hope I hold on to them for years and years and years because I want to keep these golden geese alive as long as they live. Remember, the debt goes down every single month and the value goes up. And the whole time you own these things, you get to depreciate it and reduce your taxes from other income. So, easy in, easy out, quick in, quick out, and quick money. All right, but you might be saying, but Ron, I'm scared. I don't know what to say. Well, you don't need to know what to say because fortunately for you, I've got $1 million scripts for getting in and getting out. I've got scripts for every part of the business. So all you got to do is learn to read. Now, I'm going to tell you where you can get my scripts here in just a second, but I want you to think of this. Well, actually, let me just go over this script first. Let me read you one of the scripts. Okay, let's say that you get a property information sheet, and it says right on that sheet that seller would consider taking a monthly payment. Okay, here's the script that I would call them back with. My virtual assistant sends me the sheet, and then I pick up the phone, and I call a seller, and I would say the following. Hi, John. This is Ron, and I'm calling back about the house you discussed with my assistant yesterday. You got a minute? Oh, sure. Well, listen, you've indicated that you'd take a monthly payment until I paid you off in full. Is that correct? And John will say yes, if that's what he said. And then I go right to the three big questions. Now, listen closely to what I'm doing here, because I'm simply asking the seller three questions. And frankly, when I get through these three questions, I'll know whether they're in or out and whether they're worth messing with or not. Here's the question number one. John, if we can agree upon terms, what's the least you could take for the house? And he's going to give me an answer. And then I'm going to say, John, is that the best you can do? And he's going to give me another answer. And I'm going to write it right on the property information sheet because I can tell you, my friend, almost always John's going to come quite a bit down from what he told my virtual assistant he wanted for the house. Now, my next question to John's going to be, John, we usually buy with nothing down, okay? I'm going to say that again. We usually buy with nothing down, okay? Now, John's either going to say yes, in which case I better shut up and move on because I just got a house with nothing down, or he's going to say, well, no, I can't do that. If he says that, I'm going to say, well, then what's the least you could take down, John? Right then and there, I'm going to know if I can deal with John or not. Because if John wants some great big old whopping down payment, I'm gone. But if John will sell it to me for little or nothing down, well, I'm in. I'm in. It's just that easy. And then the third question is, well, John, I assume if I covered your monthly payment, you're okay with that until I pay you in full, correct? When John says yes, and by the way, 90% of them say, yeah, that's fine. Now, I've just decided what terms John will sell that house to me by reading a very simple script. So think about what just happened. I did not make the seller an offer. The seller made me an offer. I'm just asking questions. And by asking those few questions, I will take the people who said yes, they would consider terms and weed them down to the people who actually really mean it. And then the ones who mean it will tell me what they want. And then and only then will I make an appointment to go see the house. That's how it works. Virtual assistants find leads. Our virtual assistants will generate the leads. You don't even have to generate them. They find them for you. All the people that advertise online where you live, they'll call them for you. And then they'll send you the sheets, and then you call and make that, ask those very simple questions and determine who's in or out. And then I've even got an appointment, a script to make an appointment with. So gosh, if you can read, you can get these deals done over the telephone. Then you make the appointment and you go out to the house and see if the seller's got any questions. And of course, you have a purchase and sale agreement. Mine are very, very simple. And of course, I'll provide all of those to you as well. And by the way, did you know that you can do real estate deals inside of your IRA? So I'm not going to go through it right now, but you and I should spend some time together so you can see how you can actually make a fortune and not pay income taxes on it legally. And I'm a real staunch advocate of using your IRA for real estate deals. And then, of course, you're going to want to do some outside of your IRA. So I've done the best I can do in the short time I got together, and I know you got a whole bunch of questions because if you don't, you probably weren't listening real close. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to come spend the day with the old guy here if you want. And it's called my Fast Track to Wealth Workshop. I do a couple of these every month somewhere in the United States. And you can get the agenda here. I'll give you a link here in just a minute to go find out where I'm at. But this is an all-day workshop dedicated for me having the time to go through these steps, step by step, while you're watching in class. I will teach you exactly how to make money. I will show you what we do and how to find the sellers. I'll give you several ways to do that, how to find these buyers. And frankly, it's all on autopilot now. The systems are all set up for you, so all you got to do is plug in. And sometimes how you can pay full price for a house in exchange for terms. They probably didn't know that the terms business is not about price. Of course, I like to get some kind of a discount, but I've paid retail price for houses and still made $20,000 or $30,000 on them. And I'll show you exactly how. Because we either get a price and pay cash, which is the ugly house business, or we get terms and we can pay a lot more, which is the pretty house business. We're going to have a discussion on why sellers take terms. And I'll show you a job replacement plan. Regardless of how much you're making on a job, you want to get out of it. It won't take but a few deals and you're done. We're going to certainly spend time on automating your business because honestly, I wouldn't want to teach you how to buy and sell houses without using your money or credit, without teaching you how to do it, without sucking up your life. I promise you, I don't spend 2 hours a month in the real estate business, and I can still do 2 or 3 deals a month with that. I'll bring a team into this one-day event that does more than that, several deals more per month, and also doesn't spend more than 5 to 10 hours per month in the business. You're going to see this is not a business that takes your time. You're going to leverage your brain, not your time, not your wallet, not your credit. But here's the biggie. When you register for my Fast Track Workshop, I'm going to send you a confirmation. I'm also going to send you some training on how to get some property information sheets and bring them to class with you. Because here's what happens. You bring the property information sheets. I'll bring the team in there to call the sellers for you, negotiate the deals on the phone during my class. While I'm talking, they're out there working for you, negotiating deals for you. And then after lunch that day, we're going to go over the deals that they negotiated, and I'll show you exactly what to do next. We'll even help you fill out a contract before you leave the class. We'll make an appointment for you to go see the seller if you like, and then I'll show you exactly what to do, how much money I would expect you to get out of that house, and the steps you got to take to make that happen. We will do the deals for you. My friend, I just did one of these 2 days ago, and we did 8 deals. 8 deals for the students who brought in the leads in the limited amount of time that we had during this one-day seminar. And we did all of those prior to lunch. Speaking of lunch, I'm actually going to buy your lunch. So lunch is on. Who said there was no such thing as a free lunch? In the afternoon, we're going to do a session where I go over all the deals that we got that morning, that my team got while I was talking, and you're going to be absolutely flabbergasted at how easy it is to take a simple piece of paper and turn it into a $20, $30, $40, $50,000 check or more. It will change the way you think of real estate. I hope it will change your direction for the rest of your life. I promise you it'll wake you up and show you where the easy money is in real estate today. I'm going to show you how to take title to property. I'm going to talk to you about doing them in your IRA and the pros and cons of that and how to do it easily without costly entanglements. And the last class that day will be on how to handle a financial crisis. That's just a little class I like to put together for those who may have had some issues in the past and gone through some hard times and how we can't elect to have it affect our future. And that's also where I'll tell you my story. You know, what happened to me after the 2008 crash, a guy with 32 different commercial developments going on in 9 different states. So if nothing else, you'll be able to feel my pain that afternoon. That'll be the last session of the day. Now listen, this entire all-day event is only $99 and $49 for your guest. That's right, I said $99, not $999, and $49 for your guest. And incidentally, if you sat through an all day with me and you're not thrilled with what you learned, I will cheerfully refund your money. Just go back and tell them, this is not for me, I'm out. And I got no problem with that. Again, your lunch is free. Now, we're going to give away over $5,000 worth of cash and prizes that day alone. Everybody in the room will win something, and several people in the room by drawing will win some really, really big prizes. Plus, everyone in the room, as you check in, will be handed over $500 in bonuses. I got some training materials that I'm going to drop in your lap when you walk in, several CDs and DVDs and other things. And of course, the scripts, you'll have the scripts in front of you so we can go through them that day. And I'll show you what we do when we get people on the telephone. Incidentally, all of these calls that we make to your leads are recorded. They are recorded. So you actually will be able to get the recording if you happen to bring us some leads that turn into deals. So we're going to do live deals while you watch. And I personally conduct this seminar. I do not send a clone. And incidentally, the one that I just finished up, we did a little calculation on it, and we calculated that the 8 deals that we did are worth about $400,000 just in those front-end non-refundable deposits for those students if they go out there and get those deals working. And gosh, I don't know where you're ever going to be able to go to a seminar like this, because there is no seminar like this. In fact, I could make you the case that it would behoove you to go get some leads and bring them to class. And if you sleep the rest of the day, let us do deals for you, because that's exactly what we do. Now, don't worry about getting these leads and bringing them. I'll send you the instructions. I'll send you a 27-minute training video. And frankly, anybody can go on the internet or go look for a FSBO sign in front of a house and call a seller and ask them some questions about the house, because that's all I'm asking you to do with these property information sheets, and we will take it from there. So make an appointment to see me in one of my Fast Track to Wealth workshops. You can find them on thementorpodcast.com/fast track. Write that down, thementorpodcast.com/fast track. FASTTRACK, just like it sounds. No space in the middle. Now, once you register, by the way, all the dates are there as well in the places. Some people fly in, most people drive in. But when you register, we will send you the property information sheet for you to use. We'll send you instructions on how to prepare a video and some training. We'll also send you all the scripts. You're going to need these scripts. You might want to practice with them before you come. But honestly, the scripts that I'm going to send you are what you use after you get the information sheets filled out. So whether you want to use them or not, you'll have them to study before you arrive. And then when you get to class, I'll hand you a booklet with those scripts in it as well. I've got scripts for anything you need to buy or sell houses. All right, so that's it. I hope I fulfilled my mission here of trying to explain to you what we do the best I can in the limited time we have. I appreciate you tuning in to this podcast. If you haven't become a subscriber yet, go do that. thementorpodcast.com/fast track. And I'll see you in person at one of my upcoming Fast Track to Wealth seminars. Thanks for tuning in. See you on the next podcast.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.